All right. So now we recorded this part of the show the day after the rest of it because we went and saw the movie The Predator. Um, and we figured because the last episode we were talking about the trailer.
Talk some
We,
shit.
yeah, we talked some shit about the trailer. We might as well talk about the movie that we just saw because we saw it on Friday, which was opening day. Well, it opened up like midnight, but we we had problems with the trailer. We were pretty worried about how the movie was going to turn out
Problems,
because
but it was fascinating because we had mentioned how the tone of trailers sometimes throws you off a little bit. They're usually skewed towards a certain demographic. So
yeah,
I was really interested in seeing it.
I was too.
Kevin here brought up the idea of going and checking it out today, and I was totally game. So
Yeah, and honestly, I when you mentioned the trailer and how they're geared towards different demographics, I agree, man. And I feel like this trailer did not do the movie justice. It actually did damage. I think that it was hurtful more than helping the movie, because the movie ended up being a lot better than we expected it was going to be, based on that trailer.
oh yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised with how it turned out.
Me too.
I
Good way to say it. Pleasantly surprised is the right vernacular.
You know what I also kind of did going into this one? You mentioned Shane Black writing it. You mentioned Lethal Weapon, and being a huge fan of all the Lethal Weapon movies, I kind of skewed my thoughts a little bit towards, well, hey, the trailer does bring up some of the kind of comedic elements of the movie, and I thought, hey, I'm going to change my expectations a little bit here going into this. And, it turned out that it kind of was exactly what I was expecting it to be.
Yeah. But even better, a little better than what we were expecting it to be.
Yes, a better than I was expecting it to be, a lot better than I was expecting it to be, and I think it's a really good entry in the Predator series, honestly. So
Me too. Me too. Yeah, man. When it started, you can tell it's definitely Shane Black by the dialogue, because the dialogue is sharp, it's whip smart, and it's piercing. It's all great fucking dialogue, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
The character interactions are on point, keyed in really well. The dialogue just kind of rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
The cinematography gearing towards the characters is really well done. I called it the Lethal Weapon of Predator movies.
Yeah, it felt like that.
That's
it
what
totally
I was,
felt like that.
and that's what I geared my expectation towards, and it delivered that. And I found myself rolling through the whole fucking movie. I liked it a lot. Yeah, so
yeah, man, it was great, and it started off really good too. Well, actually, I remember when we first started. The movie first starts off and has this sort of Star Warsy kind of opening with the two Predator ships, one of them opening up fire on the other, and the other one kind of crash landing on Earth.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like, oh, this is not a good start. Like,
you mentioned you're like, anytime a movie starts out with that Star Wars opening with the ships coming over the camera.
I got this bad feeling, man. I got this bad feeling in my gut. And then after that, though, it was pretty smooth sailing.
It was a really short segment.
Yeah.
They didn't expand on their space battles.
No.
It just was short and sweet.
Yep.
It got to the point, and then then they took off.
Yeah, I was worried it was going to turn into like this big space battle, and them flying around and dodging asteroids outside of Earth and all this shit, or like
Millennium Falcon style, going upside down.
Yeah. I'm glad that they didn't do that. I'm glad they didn't have a dogfight, because that would have been kind of silly.
Mm-hmm.
But once that ship crashed at the beginning, and the military guys were involved, and they got into it, it got good. It got really good from there, man.
It really did. You mentioned right away the soundtrack was on point.
The soundtrack was very Predator.
The soundtrack was absolutely Predator to its fullest extent of Predatorness.
Yes.
Really well done.
It was beautiful. It was great. The soundtrack was really good.
We're introduced to our main character. He's a sniper, military sniper.
His name's McKenna, I think.
Yeah.
They say his name's McKenna.
A little bit of one of the things I kind of don't like about a lot of movies that come out is the story convenience. His son is an autistic savant, and he's just happens to run into the Predator, and the way that the plot threads kind of line up are a little bit, like in a lot of movies, and I'm pretty forgiving about this because I see it a lot.
They got to make them. The movie's got to happen somehow.
There's a story convenience, there, but
so basically, this guy, this sniper McKenna, he sees the Predator ship crash, right, and he ends up going over to it and finding some of the Predator technology, like the helmet, one of the gauntlets, and he ends up escaping with and one of the Arctic camouflage little balls that they got.
And it turns out this technology is automated. Apparently,
at least the weaponry is. Yeah. The weaponry's automated.
As soon as you get attacked by something,
it starts firing.
The phasers or the cannons will come around and blast whatever's attacking you. This is kind of how they are developing the Predator lore a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know if they got that from the comics or what.
I'm not really sure.
I don't know. I think honestly, I haven't read any of the comics.
I haven't either. I want to research it a little bit.
Yeah.
But if it is, cool. If it's not, well, it's not my favorite aspect of the movie.
I agree with that because it made me think of some of the original movies where there were scenes where the Predator was firing his shoulder cannon before anybody was firing at him. And so this whole, it's automated and it only fires after he's being shot at, that just doesn't seem to make sense with some of the older movies. But that's just kind of a small gripe. That's not something that really ruins the film. It's
perhaps
just more of a nitpick, I guess.
Yeah, perhaps it's just a technological self-defense mechanism or something.
Yeah.
So it could be explained away.
I think it goes along with their, how they don't attack anybody unless they have a weapon.
Yeah.
It's like not sporting.
Yep.
So I think it kind of goes along with that idea. I think that's maybe what they were going for.
And they definitely throw a lot of that in there. There's a lot of homages to the original Predator movies and the original Alien movie.
Yeah, there was. Okay, you're talking about the scene with Olivia Munn when she has to dress down to get out of the lab.
Yep.
So she has to get, basically this Predator has gone nuts in this lab and he's killing everybody. And she goes into this sanitized room where you have to dress down and you have to basically be scanned and sanitized before you can leave or go in or go out. So Predator's on a rampage and she has to dress down and be sanitized and be checked by this scanning system while he's getting closer and closer to her. And she ends up ducking down, butt naked in this scanning chamber. And the Predator comes in, finds her, and she's freaked out thinking she's going to get killed. And he just kind of gives her a look and turns around and walks away.
The best part of that is the way it's filmed.
It's filmed
just almost shot for shot.
Straight an Alien
from
scene.
Alien, but then the Predator comes around the corner, sees her, and then just leaves. And
it's
awesome.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
It was good.
I loved it. Don't forget, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, there's a great cameo in this section.
Yes.
By the brother of an actor who's in the second movie, Gary.
Yep. You already gave it away. Oh well, we may as well say it. So Gary Busey's actual brother in real life, Jake Busey, is playing what we think is maybe the son of his character from Gary Busey's character from Predator 2. The crazy man Keys.
Great cameo, and his mannerisms and everything he does is kind of just keyed in. Yeah. Oh, had to throw that in there.
Keyed in, gotcha.
Anyways, no, that was really bad.
It was.
Anyways, no, I'm coming off this, and I want to talk so much about it.
Me too.
We could fill a whole episode kind of with this.
I think we could, man, because especially because like I said, we were watching this movie and in the theater, we're like, man, this is actually really good. Mm-hmm. Like, because we walked in there thinking this was going to be a shit heap.
Yeah.
And because like I said, man, that trailer did not do it any favors.
Didn't do it justice. Didn't do it any justice whatsoever.
No. And so there was a lot to this movie, man, because there is, they're kind of deepening the lore of the Predators. There's the Predator that crash landed on Earth apparently was coming here to deliver something to us, and he stole it from his own people. Now, spoilers here, just so you guys know, this is the other Predators are starting to genetically modify themselves.
That was one of the things we were worried about.
Yeah, but I think it works in this a little bit.
I agree.
Just because it kind of makes sense with the predators trying to become like these apex predators of the galaxy. You know, they're bettering themselves with the best traits of different species they find.
They really went out of their way to expand the lore of
Yeah,
the Predator
they did.
in this one. And yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I actually like it.
I like the idea. It makes sense with the predators. It makes sense that that would be something that they would do. They're to become better at being these hunters. Why not take the best traits of these different races throughout the galaxy and breed them into genetically, you know, breed them into your own, you know, hunters to make them better.
One thing
Makes
I was,
sense.
yeah, it does. And one thing I was kind of like, you know, I was worried about was the CGI between the two Predator races fighting,
Which
turned out to be
kind
those
of
reservations were,
that was probably one of the worst parts of the movie.
were founded because it turned out to be pretty lame when it happened, but luckily it was short.
lame.
Luckily, just like
It
the
was
opening
short.
scene, it was short.
Yeah.
You know, whoever was doing the writing of those and you know put those scenes in there was kind of cognizant of the fact that we're not going to draw this out. We're not going to
pull an Alien versus Predator.
Exactly.
Where they just had this long, drawn-out battle that was just fucking boring.
And that's one of the things I was really worried about, was that this was going to become Alien versus Predator. And there's a lot of those things that I was worried about that did happen, but they were short and they were kind of constrained.
Yeah.
And they weren't like all encompassing. So that's good.
Yeah, I agree. Because you're right. You know, the CGI, there's some stuff in it. Now, not all of this movie is just pure CGI, because there are, which is something we worried about.
Yeah.
There is a little too much CGI when it comes to the big Predator, the genetically altered one.
Mainly the close-ups, and mainly the fact that you know, maybe halfway through the movie, that Predator is the one that kind of takes over as the antagonist.
He's the antagonist. Yeah, he's the main villain of the movie.
And so you end up having this CGI antagonist, and I mean,
and we won't go into I guess we won't go into where the other Predator goes, because there's a part of the story that kind of
it's important,
right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man. I mean, the big Predator basically ends up becoming the main villain. And
you were worried about it because you end up having those close-ups, right? You mentioned having the close-ups, and then being taking you straight out of the movie, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing that bothered me, is that because with the regular Predator, because there is a regular Predator, the Predator that we know and love, that we've always seen. OG, we were calling him the OG Predator. OG Predator is in this for a while, and he's not completely CGI throughout the movie. In fact, a lot of the close-ups and stuff, it's a guy, or they have one built, or they have a guy in a big suit, and so it actually looks like there's something there, something tangible. So you kind of get more of you feel that he's there, you feel the presence. But with the big one, he's pure CGI, and that bothered me, and I know it bothered you throughout the movie, because I know for a fact that they could have done close-ups where they did the same thing with the OG Predator.
Yeah.
Where they could have put a solid thing there, and it would have felt a lot more intimidating and real.
Yeah, with how good
but it was pure CGI.
Yeah, with how good some of the suits were in this movie, and how good some of the practical effects were, how good some of the gore effects were.
Yeah,
I don't see why they couldn't use some prosthetics or some some stilts or something, and kind of made a more intimidating, bulky suit, and made this Predator come to life. But
done some of that magical camera work that Hollywood does.
Yeah, some Stan Winston shit.
Yeah, exactly, man. R.I.P. Stan Winston, by the way. But yeah, man. So it's not without its problems. It does have problems. It's not a perfect movie, because, and kind of how you and I both agreed that the movie was pretty much fantastic for the most part, except for there's the last like quarter of it starts to kind of fall apart a little bit. Not completely, but it's not as tight. It wasn't as good, I feel, the last quarter as the rest of the film was.
Yeah, ever since I'd watched it, I kind of have been comparing it to the last movie, which is Natural.
Which was Predators.
Predators, yeah. Overall, I think it was a better movie, honestly.
I think so, too.
But whereas the last movie kind of took that minimalist hey, let's kind of make this whole movie kind of an homage to the first one where they're fighting in the jungle.
In the jungles, yeah.
They kind of plant it in this kind of pen, where it's and if you haven't seen the movie, well, go read a synopsis. I'm not going to explain it in this review, but they kind of have it penned off, and the whole movie's kind of an homage to the original. This one, the homage to the original kind of happens
the last quarter or so.
Yeah.
When they're in these woods.
It's interspersed throughout the movie. The homages are, especially the quotes. There's some quotes in there that are from the original as well.
Oh yeah,
that are kind of
get to the chopper.
Yeah,
someone of course had to say that. There's a get to the chopper.
Yep, they have a get to the chopper moment. They have some of those things that'll just make you crack a smile. But during the last perhaps 15 minutes, like you mentioned, maybe perhaps 20 to 15 minutes or so, you have the jungle showdown.
Yeah, which takes, it's not really jungle, it's in the forest, but it is the jungle
showdown. Whatever.
Where the predators coming down from the trees and pulling guys up in the trees and stuff.
Makes Cambodia looks like Kansas.
Yeah, exactly. But I would say most of this movie takes place sort of it's near and around military bases, labs, and suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
That's where most of the movie takes place.
There's a lot of locations.
There's even a farmhouse too.
Yeah. So if you like if you like to have a lot of different locales, this movie does a good job of doing that. Yeah. Kind of bounces between a lot of different locales.
But none of it seems forced. It all feels like this makes sense why they're here.
And that's important too. Yeah. That's important that it does that as well. So.
Yeah, so that I appreciate too. That's just good writing. Mm-hmm. That would be on the Shane Black and Fred Dekker side right there. Those guys know what they're doing.
Yeah.
There is some stuff I didn't like. I didn't like the predator dog following them around like a lost puppy.
Yeah, we have to mention that because there's a moment here, and I think this is kind of there to appeal to dog lovers.
Hey, I'm a dog lover. I just felt like it was kind of out of place.
I feel like it was there because you got it. I don't really know why it was there. I'm trying to explain it in my own head, and I don't really know.
To be honest, we were trying to figure out, because unless I missed a part, I don't remember exactly why it was following our heroes around like a sad lost puppy.
So the way it started, I guess the way the scene played out was we had and you'll see this in the trailer, the predators have pet dogs,
it's like they're hunting. Yeah, it's like they're hunter dogs.
So there's a scene where the predator sends the hellhounds out to confront our squad.
Yeah.
The hellhounds immediately don't seem like they pose a threat. Because we are already seeing through the CGI, and B, because they don't do anything.
No, they just stand there and growl and get shot at.
They stand there, growl, get shot at, jump a few times, and then blow up.
Yeah.
And then one of them runs off.
Yeah, which we were both talking about how in the movie Predators, which was the last movie, they had dogs, hunting dogs, and those dogs were fucking ferocious, and they were dangerous, and you felt like they were dangerous. They just kind of stood there, growled, and got shot at, and then just died or ran off. So they didn't feel like they were very dangerous.
Yeah, and you have the magical bullets, which sometimes work, sometimes don't.
Yeah.
You can be shooting clips full of magazines full of rounds at the predator and their dogs, and they will just ricochet right off. But all of a sudden, the magical bullet that
at that right time
cinematically is execution shot just works.
Exactly. So, at that right time, we'll take him out. It's like, oh, so this one wasn't a dud. Got it. Okay.
That would happen. Gotcha. That happens a lot. That trope happens a lot through this movie. Yeah. And you have to kind of forgive it, I guess, if you want to enjoy it. But it does it's one of those aspects that does take you a little bit out of it.
Yeah, yeah. We both were kind of like, in the movie when that happened, each time it happened. Even the guys near us, I could hear them, because the guys that were sitting by us, they were making noises when that shit happened too. You can tell they were like, I don't buy it.
Yeah, so I would say this is kind of like the Lethal Weapon, so you have to adjust your expectations. It's a different kind of Predator movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say the horror aspect and like the tension, it's there, but it's more under the surface, because the comedy and the sort of quippy dialogue and all that takes sort of center stage.
Yeah, horror took a back seat in this one, which Predator is known as a horror movie.
Right.
And in this one, like I said, it's a different kind of Predator
Horror,
movie.
action horror. Whatever.
Yeah, action horror comedy.
That's pretty much what this is. But the comedy's center stage.
Center stage. The horror kind of takes a back seat. It's there, like you mentioned. It
Yeah.
pops up. It springs up, and
there's some great moments.
There's moments of tension.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's some really good moments of tension in it, but it's kind of eclipsed by the comedy.
Yes.
Because it's like they'll have this moment that's like super tense, and then one of the characters will say some quippy dialogue that just completely diffuses the tension. You know,
that when that happens, I actually 9 times out of 10 in this one, I appreciated it and thought it was added to it. But there's times and there's moments,
it was good quippy dialogue.
It's because it was written so well.
Shane Black and Fred Dekker, man.
Yeah.
Those guys are damn good writers.
Yeah. So, you know, even though I know a lot of people who are diehard Predator fans are gonna take a look at this one and not be able to appreciate that aspect of it. I myself did, and I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
I think you have to go into it knowing it's going to be a different kind of Predator movie.
It's definitely a different breed.
It doesn't have to be 1-to-1 scale ratio, complete mirror image of the other movies.
No,
and that's and I have to be able to appreciate that because so many movies want to be exactly what their predecessors were. In this
and
case,
then they do nothing new.
Yeah, and in this case, they did a lot new.
They did a lot new,
and they, a lot of the comedy, the classic comedy from the Lethal Weapon stuff, the really quippy dialogue, the really snappy writing, all that stuff is really well done in this.
Yeah, the characters really play off each other. This group, this team, this team that gets together. Now they're all these prisoners. They're all these military prisoners, and which you see them in the trailer. All of those guys together, they work great together. They really play off each other, and the dynamic between them is undeniable.
God, we can't forget Thomas Jane's character in this.
Who was great.
God, it was so good.
Thomas Jane's character's great. Now, there's some stuff in it. Now, there is some stuff where everybody in the theater were laughing like, that's fucking stupid. Like, there's a couple scenes that were just silly, but they're like silly in a good way.
Let's just say if you're not a fan of slapstick, you may not enjoy or appreciate some of the stuff
like
that
the
happens.
Thomas Jane and Keegan-Michael Key scene towards the end. I'm not going to ruin it, but
oh my God,
I'm not going to ruin that scene, but you guys, when you see this, you'll know what I'm talking about. The Thomas Jane and Keegan-Michael Key scene. It's so stupid, but it's funny. It's really funny.
Oh my God. It was so stupid.
It was so stupid.
It was so stupid that I couldn't hate it.
Right,
I loved it. Every second of it.
It was great.
So good. It was their death scenes. Okay, but I won't spoil it anymore.
Okay, no more. Yeah, their death scene is so schlocky, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But so yeah, man. Okay, so it was a great movie. It was way better than we were expecting it to be. It definitely expanded on the Predator culture a little more.
Mythos, yeah.
The mythos. And now we're not gonna ruin the ending, but it looks like they are trying to open things up to possibly maybe a new universe, or at least open the movies up to a wider universe.
Yeah, it's.
So I don't want to ruin the ending though. I don't.
Yeah, definitely. We're not gonna spoil the ending. But it's definitely a little bit of an open-ended ending, and it does look like they're, keeping an open mind to the possibility of a more expanded kind of. And this is kind of this is what Hollywood's really good at lately. Mm-hmm. Is gearing a movie up as the platform towards an expanded universe.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
if this movie does well at the box office, we'll probably see more continuation of this, and which honestly I'd be curious to see. Because
I'm okay with it.
I am too. I'd be curious to see where they're going to take it. I like this movie enough to say, hey man, if you guys do a sequel, I'm down.
I'm okay with it.
I'll be there.
Maybe they can start making good Alien vs. Predator movies.
Maybe, if they move it in there the right way. Because let's face it, the last two, the original Alien vs. Predator movies were just fucking abysmal failures and were horrible horrible movies.
Yep, and now with studios retconning, previously made sequels, who knows? Maybe they can, start working off of a new lore, and like I said, a new platform, and in this case, I'm okay with it. So
yeah, me too, man. Yeah.
So yeah,
this was a great movie. We did have our qualms with some parts in it, but overall, it was great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was really surprised.
Me too.
I was taken aback. I'm not going to say, like you mentioned, it's not completely perfect.
No, it's not
got
perfect.
its own set of issues. But, in this day and age, what movie doesn't have CGI and hokey, contrived plot points and stuff like that. So, if you go into it, adjust your expectations a little bit. But I came out of it really happy. I had a big smile on my face.
Oh yeah, man! So, I was smiling throughout the whole movie. I really enjoyed it. It was great seeing the Predator in action again, and it was great having Shane Black in there again, because he was in the original and he was involved in the making of the original. And I feel like having him in there, it's almost like coming full circle, kind of, with this character. So it's just too bad we couldn't get Dutch in there. Too bad there was no Arnold. I would love to have seen Dutch return. That would have been great. But I heard that they couldn't get him unless they could film his scenes at his house, which, what the fuck?
In his bathtub.
Yeah, right. No, that's actually true, though. Apparently he wouldn't have done the movie unless they could film his scenes at his house.
Well, while he's sitting in his sofa.
In his compound. Well, I guess he's got like a compound somewhere in California. But,
California.
Yeah, he's got a fucking tank on his compound, man. It's crazy.
Well, hey, you know what? Like I said, they kept it open-ended.
They did.
Maybe we'll see a future for that.
I hope so, if this movie does well.
Yeah, and I really hope, if it does take off, and I do hope more people go to see it, that we, might end up with a little bit more of an expanded kind of universe based off of this platform. So it's good.
I would like to see it. Yeah, man. So there you have it. We were pleasantly surprised with The Predator. It ended up being a pretty damn solid movie and a pretty good installment in the Predator series.
I know.
Fucking bravo, Shane Black and Fred Decker, writers and directors. So yeah, any last words here?
No, just, I mean, Predator for me is kind of like, there hasn't really been a bad installment of the Predator movies. They've always been pretty decent. And in my opinion, the second movie was panned. I liked it a lot.
I love the second movie.
Predators was kind of, it was a little tepid.
It was mixed.
This one,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this one, while better than the last one, probably not reaching the caliber of Predator 2 even, but hey, you know what? Think of if Shane Black brings Danny Glover in a sequel for this one.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Great.
We're talking Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
We're talking the Lethal Weapon
I know.
of Predators. That would be so
Absolutely.
cool. I could see that happening, and Dutch and
all
that.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to see if they do a sequel, if they bring back some returning characters from the past. But yeah, I definitely say go see The Predator. Mm-hmm. It's a good movie, and it's a good Predator movie.
This one does not get the Sphincter of the Universe award because
No.
it does not belong in a sphincter.
No, it's not that bad.
It belongs on a mantle. It belongs in a museum.
This belongs in your collection when it comes out, man. It's good. So I guess as last words go, now remember the rest of the show is starting right now. Welcome to the show. Who are you? Who? Oh, I really want to listen. Who are you? Hey, man, YouTube won't let us use copyrighted music. We'll fucking make our own.
That's not making our own. That's plagiarism. But hey,
that is plagiarism.
Hey, they won't disallow our video for that. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's our own spin. It's our own version.
Our own version.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible version.
Ooh. Yeah.
It'll suffice.
It'll suffice. Yeah.
Till we get some public domain songs to.
Which there is a lot of them. Actually, YouTube posted this thing where they had a whole list of public domain songs, new ones that could be used, and it's all like really shitty electronica.
Yeah, I noticed. I actually used one for a video. I was pointing towards our last episode in my YouTube channel, Metal Boss 44, or actually Legion Psychotica. Now, I'm not expecting anyone to remember any of that stuff.
Plug-a-roo. Someone's plugging. Someone's plugging it.
I haven't uploaded a video for 3 years, so don't expect much. But yeah, I noticed the public domain songs they added, and yeah, they're all really weird. Generic electronica, and
right?
Classical, and
it's the kind of stuff you'd hear in the background of like a fucking vacuum commercial.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you would expect you'd expect that in some generic friggin' infomercial or some shit like that.
That's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like the background music to an infomercial you're watching at 4:00 in the morning, and
hungover,
or the hangover's just starting because you ran out of beer like 3 hours ago.
Don't you hate it when it's a waking hangover?
Oh man,
those are the worst.
Sucks.
Well, you ever take a dump that made you feel like you slept for 12 hours?
Actually, I have.
I did this
Have you ever taken a dump that made you feel like you went to war?
Have you ever had a fart that lasted 12 hours?
Not one that was unbroken, but a series of farts that lasted 12 hours.
That's a digestional issue, man.
Yeah, I probably
check that.
Yeah, I probably should.
Anyways.
Me gutsies are tumbling. It's a dark night. Dun, 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 dun. Dark night.
I think that'll be our new theme song.
You know what that's from?
No.
That's from Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh shit!
It's a dark night.
Is that when all like the limbs are flying all over the place?
No, actually, this is if I remember right, that's actually when they first. I think it's when they first get to the Titty Twister, the strip club.
Yeah.
It's a dark night. Oh no, it's the ending. It's the very fucking end after they come out of the Titty Twister, after they kill all these vampires and shit. And Cheech is like, ooh, what was wrong? Were they all psychos or something? And Clooney's like, oh yeah, they were psychos. You know, psychos explode when sunlight hits them. Carlos, the fuck is the matter with you? No, they were fucking vampires. That girl's entire fucking family is dead, and it's your fault, Carlos. You gotta make this up to me, man. Nope, 10%, not good enough. Not good enough. Her whole family's dead, man. Come on, vampires. 20%.
What, were they psychos? Or?
They look like psychos? Is that what they look like? They were vampires. Psychos do not explode when sunlight hits them. I don't give a fuck how crazy they are.
You know what movie I just watched actually rather recently with James Woods in it? I think it was just called Vampires.
Oh, that's a John Carpenter movie.
But he plays, John Carpenter.
He's like this hard-ass vampire hunter.
He plays like this hard-ass, cigar chomping badass.
Yeah.
With like a sawed-off shotgun. Fucking, and I
loved him in that movie.
It's got. I didn't realize it was John Carpenter, but when I first watched it, I was like, "This has this certain feel that is very familiar to me, and has the seminal badass in it that John Carpenter is so good at portraying." And fucking loved it. Never watched it before, but
and
watched
it's got
it for the first time.
grittiness that you know. Although I will say this, the first half of the movie's better than the second half.
Yeah, you're right.
But I like how they deal with vampires, how they just like spear them and then, you know, connect the spear to like a truck winch and then just drag them out into the sun. That's fucking awesome.
Oh shit. Yeah, you don't, dude, man, the vampire genre really, after Blade and all that shit, kind of went to hell, didn't it?
It did. Dude, I'm going to say it. I've said this before. Twilight killed vampires.
Yeah.
Fucking turned them into sparkly little pussies.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Stephanie Meyer.
actually-
Fuck you right in the ass.
I've actually seen every single Twilight.
We did a commentary on one. On the first one,
we
remember?
did do
Our
commentaries
last
on it. I've
series.
seen every single one of those fucking movies.
Dude,
And that's
they're
why I'm a
horrible.
glutton for punishment.
Dude, they're absolutely horrible.
And you know what? They have their kind of laughy, kind of ridiculous value to them that I like.
Here's another
in a
plug, by the way.
so,
That commentary is on the channel if you want to listen to it.
Yeah, just sync it right up to the movie. You'll have a ball.
You sync it up to the movie, and it's us just talking shit about how horrible it is. Let's face it, that movie sucked. They all sucked.
Yeah, on the subject of vampire movies, though, I just watched Kronos for the first time, which is a Guillermo del Toro movie, his first movie, actually, that he
I never
directed.
saw that.
Kronos is the story of
Enlighten me, sir.
an old man, his shopkeeper, who inherits an old what are those Egyptian kind of relics? It's like the June bug looking thing.
Oh, like a scarab?
Yeah,
scarab.
Inherits a scarab artifact
Uh-huh.
that he places on his hand. It like links into his hand and sucks the blood out of him, and gives him
It's a hungry scarab.
vampiric powers. And the movie isn't outright. When I was watching it, I didn't read into it at all. I just watched it on a whim. And it gives him vampiric powers, for lack of a better term. And the whole movie kind of plays out kind of slow, where he's
I like a slow burn
these,
movie.
Yeah, it's a slow burn movie.
I don't mind a slow burn movie.
Develops these powers over time, realizes he's immortal. There's a scene where he's licking someone's blood off of a public bathroom floor. There's
I hope those vampire powers prevent STDs or infection, because licking that. We all know how clean public bathrooms are.
in a way, vampirism can be
Hepatitis C waiting to happen.
vampiric powers can be considered maybe perhaps an STD. In a lot of those movies,
Or a blood disease.
The sexual the sexualness is linked with the,
vampires
the
are very
bonding
sexual. Yeah.
and the
It's like that's how the virus perpetuates itself. It's sexually transmitted, but it also makes the vampires very sexual, so that they will pass it on.
But anyways, it's a slow burn movie. It's his first it's his directorial debut.
Oh, cool!
Great movie, actually.
I'm a big Del Toro fan, man. He's a good director.
Yeah, I watched the documentary
Very
on
visual.
it too. Yeah, I had the Criterion Collection edition of it that I checked out, and there are a lot of good features on it, director commentary and all that good stuff.
That's where the good stuff is. Those commentaries, man. That's where that's kind of where you learn all this really interesting stuff about the making of the films, is by listening to those commentaries.
Yeah. Fucking loved it though. If you're a Guillermo del Toro fan, or just a fan of the genre, or just kind of want to see something new that's kind of out there, that's not your typical type of vampire movie, fucking check it out for sure. I love it.
I will, man. Kronos. I had no idea that movie even existed. Otherwise, I probably would have been all about it. But you're right, man. Vampire movies have really gone downhill. I still, like I said, I blame it on fucking Twilight.
Yeah, you got that? What's that one? 8 Days of Night or whatever.
30 Days of Night.
30 Days of Night.
I like that one.
That was a fucking good movie.
I like that
was
one,
a really
man.
Good one.
Well, what I liked about that movie was how primal the vampires were.
Yeah,
they weren't these they weren't these I
was looking for the word for it. That's perfect. Yeah,
they're
exactly.
these really primal vampires. Their faces are all fucking warped and shit, and they're not like the typical sexually sensual vampires, like the Bela Lugosi vampire. He was kind of like him, and Dracula. Dracula was kind of the prototype of that kind of vampire. And
these are just a pure primal bloodlust.
Yeah, they're more
bestial
animalistic.
bloodlust.
Yeah, I love that about it.
The vampires came straight out of a death metal album.
Fuck yeah, they did, man. Absolutely. But I love that about it. I love that about it. And honestly, in the place that it was at, it took place in like Alaska or something, and during the time of the year where it's dark for a month at a time.
Oh, I can't sleep.
Dude, yeah.
Oh boy, I can't sleep.
Yeah, but don't you think that would be the perfect place for a vampire to live? A place where they could roam free like that for 30, for a whole month without the sun coming up?
Good thinking on the writer's part for sure. And
Yeah.
the setting.
Well, That movie, actually, it's based off a graphic novel. I do know that much.
Okay.
I never read the graphic novel.
See, you always know this kind of stuff. I don't. Yeah.
It's because I'm a geek through and through.
You're starting to get me into more graphic novels now, actually.
Yeah, man. I try to get people in because I recently kind of got back into like graphic novels and comics and stuff because I'm backing a comic. It's an indie comic and it's made by Ethan Van Sciver, who he used to draw stuff. He used to do art for Marvel Comics and DC and stuff, and now he's gone a separate way. And there's all these comic book writers and artists who are now doing their own stuff and they're going through like Kickstarter and Indiegogo.
You're kind of like what Todd McFarlane ended up doing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Well, yeah. Todd McFarlane kind of went off on his own. Yeah, but these guys are doing it because the comic book industry is kind of at war. In a way, there's like a culture war going on. Marvel Comics, I guess, is not doing so well because the writers and artists have been like attacking their fans publicly on like Twitter and things like that. They're really political.
Yet another reason why social media is poison.
I agree. Social media is a cancer. That's why I don't use it very much anymore. But it's these guys have gone off and they're doing their own thing. And so I'm backing Ethan Van Sciver's his Cyberfrog Blood Honey comic. He's putting out a graphic novel.
You just lost me.
So okay,
is that the name?
That's the name. Comic? Cyberfrog Blood Honey. Yeah.
Cyberfrog Blood
And
Honey.
it's about this cybernetic frog superhero who's fighting. Basically goes into, he's like in stasis or something for a while, and he wakes up. When he wakes up, he finds out that these like alien bees or hornets, supervillains, have taken over the planet Earth, and they're like harvesting humans for their blood.
What the actual
like
fuck?
Yeah, right. It's fucking insane. But I'll throw up a picture of this because it looks fucking awesome. It's just that's the reason why I was into it was because it's such a crazy idea. It just might work.
Please tell me it's a distant sequel to Hell Comes to Frogtown with fucking Roddy Piper.
It probably could be. But yeah, man, no, I've always kind of bounced in and out of the comics industry, my interest, because comics, they do have, well, for one, the art is amazing, and the writing, depending on the one you get, if it's a good writer, the writing can be stellar. I mean, it could be really engrossing.
Yeah.
And like, I've always kind of tried to keep up with like things like heavy metal.
Oh yeah,
you were with me the other day when I picked up a couple of them.
You're still picking up episodes of that.
Yeah.
You're still picking up copies of that, huh?
Still pick up heavy metal. I miss them here and there. Sometimes like the last ones I got, you were with me. I bought this month's and last month's because I haven't bought them for like 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
So and they happen to have those too. It's like $8 a pop, so it's pretty cheap and it's really good stuff.
Yeah, heavy metal's always had some really good segment stories.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've it's always been pretty cool. But I for me, I like the writing. As a writer, I appreciate it, but I also I appreciate the art. It's just something I've always been into since I was a kid.
Yeah, I like things that catch my eye. Like when we're shopping for comics, which is rarity for me.
You had a good time, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
You did.
We were picking up 50-cent comics,
Yeah.
and we found a ton of old school 80s comics. And I'm, like I said, man, in the last episode, I'm just a sucker for everything 80s. And
Me too.
found some old school Terminator comics and picked them up.
Can't argue with 50 cents a pop either.
Yeah, and I picked up a couple old school Terminator and old school RoboCop comics,
Yeah.
and
I was picking up a bunch of Punisher.
Yeah,
Garth Ennis Punisher, man, which Garth Ennis's Punisher run, just fucking brutal.
Yeah. You told me about
fun.
that, and
so much fun.
I always thought Punisher was just brutal in general, but I didn't know the different authors and different artists that were involved in the making of those comics.
There's been a bunch of different writers and artists that have done them over the years, but for me, my favorite's always been Garth Ennis as the writer. Artists, honestly, I don't mind what artist does it.
Yeah.
I just really like Garth Ennis's writing. I was a big fan of Preacher, the Preacher comics. I know you probably heard of those. They got a TV show out now that's based on it. He wrote those. Steve Dillon drew them. And with some of the Punisher books, Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon got together and did those. Some of them together.
Okay.
And but yeah, I like Garth Ennis's writing because it's really gritty and just it feels very down to earth, kind of more of a realistic kind of approach to things. It feels like, but it's also a crazy kind of approach to things. It's just this dark.
So my question is, what is the Netflix show of Punisher? What is that really based off? Which storyline, or I guess most adaptable version of it would be? Because I really don't know. I've only watched a couple episodes.
Yeah,
I'm an old school Punisher fan, and I used to read the comics back in the day. It's been a long time. Yeah. I love the fucking arcade game, the beat 'em up, the Punisher beat 'em up. God, and I just went through and watched the entire series of Punisher, and I was just wondering, because I don't know comics as well as you do, so I don't know which version it was adapted from.
I don't know. And to be perfectly honest, man, I don't really know comics that deeply. When it comes to like the like tons of writers and all that, because honestly, I only started really getting into that kind of stuff as I got older. Because when I was a kid, I just read them because they were fun.
Bro, at the comic book store, you're popping off about issues
some of them.
And series. And,
some
and
of
all
them,
this
yeah.
Stuff. You
just the
seem
ones
like
I'm.
You know your shit.
Well,
so.
just the ones. I'm definitely no comic expert, but there's people out there that are way more knowledgeable about it than me.
Expert ever.
Right. I'm knowledgeable about certain series.
Right.
Just like the ones that I really like for instance, Spawn. Huge Spawn fan since I was a kid. Todd McFarlane is a fucking god when it comes to comics. And Spawn is one of those series that I'm still, even as an adult, I've been trying to collect the whole thing. Just because it's one that I've been reading since I was a kid, and it was always one of my favorites.
Yeah, I miss back in the day when people would read my last name and equate me to Todd McFarlane, and
Your last name's McFarlane.
Harken on his name, and now it's Seth MacFarlane, or Aran, for God's sakes. It's not Aran, it's Aran. Aran, people, please. Not that I don't love that fucking skit, but well, yeah. When I was starting to get back into comics, because I'm a completionist, and
I'm kind of into that too.
It's hard for me to collect anything for any given amount of time. I used to just buy the books.
Yeah.
And
the trade paperbacks.
Yeah,
and
I
the collected ones.
They have them all in one.
Yeah.
Which
is convenient. It makes it easier to then having to hunt down each individual issue, which can be a total bitch sometimes.
Yeah, and I remember I used to have the RoboCop first Terminator Omnibus, which is what it was called. And
I remember. I have that Super Nintendo game somewhere.
The Super Nintendo game is brutal.
It's fucking brutal, man. It's
one of the hardest games I've ever played.
It's so hard.
One of the hardest games I've ever played.
Especially the later levels where you're actually fighting nothing but Terminators, and it just takes forever to fucking kill any of them.
Yeah. If you watch, I think there's an Angry Video Game Nerd or some other game reviewer episode where it's just him. He has to duck and just shoot over and over again. He's just in the same spot.
Dude, they took forever to kill. You'd have to shoot them 100 times, and the thing is, I remember you'd shoot them, they fall over, and then you'd have to wait for them to stand back up to hit them again because you couldn't hurt them while they were falling over. It was hard as shit, dude. You're right. That game was a gauntlet going through it.
You know what game was badass on the Super Nintendo that I almost forgot about? The Incredible Hulk on the Super Nintendo was a really good game.
I don't know if
you've ever played. Oh my god!
Yeah, I don't know if I ever played that one.
I have every single Super Nintendo game on this laptop, dude. We'll have to play it later.
Don't let Nintendo hear you. Don't let Nintendo hear about that. They'll fucking bring a lawsuit up your ass.
I have every single cartridge of every Super Nintendo game ever.
Legally purchased.
Legally.
Every single one of them.
Purchased.
Nintendo. You hear about that? Nintendo cracking down on ROMs?
No, I had not.
Yeah,
actually.
dude, Nintendo, over the past couple months, I guess they've brought some heavy lawsuits against some of the emulation websites, some of the most popular ones.
Oh my god.
And no joke, these guys are really throwing their weight around on this. So people are there's been talk, hey, is emulation dead? Is Nintendo trying to kill emulation? I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I think it's pretty much impossible to stop it. It's kind of like one of those Silk Road kind of things.
Like,
It's
yeah.
like where you knock one down, another one pops up to take its place.
Right, like Metallica and Napster. And,
Right.
All that stuff.
Exactly.
It exists on another form of or another.
But they're going hard against some of the big ones, like EMU Paradise. That was a popular one.
Yeah.
They apparently shut that one down. There's a few others that are pretty big that are going down. So it's they've they're on the offensive. That's for sure.
No surprise. Yeah, they're pushing the the it's not called Virtual Console anymore, but
they're trying to resell everything.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you know what? That's the thing, though, man. People will still pay for those. It's
I still do.
Yeah.
We were talking about Final Fight. I purchased like every version that's re-released of that.
Yeah.
Game. I purchased all the Street Fighters that come out.
Speaking of Final Fight and Street Fighter, there's a company called Arcade 1UP that they're not out yet. They're still pre-ordering these, but they've got these arcade games that are coming out. And it's basically, these things are like actual arcade cabinets. And they have
just a little shorter.
They're a little shorter. They're like 4 feet instead of 6, I think. But you can get this extender for like $20-$25 or something, where it'll bring it up to the actual height of an arcade. Like the 6 foot. I think they're usually about 6 feet tall.
What's
from
the
top
reason?
to bottom?
So what's the reason for the? I mean, I don't.
The shortening of it.
Yeah. What is that? Just because
I think
it's easier shipping? Or?
No, I think it's so that people can like put a stool up there and sit down and play them instead of having to stand. Yeah,
that's smart.
But
that's cool,
I like the idea of having the extender, because I like the idea of the seat, but I also want, if I'm going to get one, I want the full arcade experience. So I'm probably gonna splurge for the extender.
Yep, stand-up cabinets for life, bro.
But the thing is, though, is that these cabinets, they come with 4 games each.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got, like, for instance, here I got their website up here, and I'll put a little photo of what it looks like on the
no,
video.
dude, throw a link down, dude.
But I'll throw a link in there in the description as well. But there's one that's Asteroids. What is that? Major Havoc? Is it Major Havoc? Lunar Lander and Tempest. There's one that's Centipede, Missile Command, Crystal Castles, and Millipede. Rampage, Gauntlet, Joust, and Defender.
Looks like it's kind of cut off there on the top image is kind of cut off for some reason.
Then there's one that's Galaga and Galaxian. That one only has 2. But then there's the one that really caught my eye. There's also a Street Fighter one. There's Street Fighter. It's the Champion Edition, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and like Super Street Fighter.
That's the one that caught my eye. Yeah, the Street Fighter one. Oh man,
yeah. But speaking of Final Fight, this is the one that really caught my eye. Now, it's not going to come out until spring of next year, but this one is Final Fight 1944. You remember that old airplane game?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 1944. Ghosts and Goblins and Strider. Yeah.
Strider.
That's the one I want to get. It comes out spring, so I was thinking about pre-ordering it at some point. But get this, man. Okay, you know how a lot of arcade cabinets are like $1,000 sometimes. Some maybe not that much, but like there's some that can be pretty expensive. One of these comes with 4 games, and they're all on free play, so you don't got to use no quarters or anything. $299, $299, and you got your own arcade cabinet for life.
For life.
For life. NWO for life. Wolfpack for life.
Too
Ooh,
sweet.
Too sweet. I remember that shit. But no, but it looks awesome, man. I mean, this totally speaks to the nerdy gamer in my mind. It speaks to 1994 me.
Yeah, waking up and going and having a cup of coffee in the morning and just looking over at one of those cabinets. Dude, I'd crack a smile every single day.
Every time, yeah.
That would make my day.
And just have it up and on so that anybody that walks into your house can just walk over and play a game.
So cool.
Bada bam. It'd be so fucking awesome.
Yeah,
you get a couple of those, you got your own little arcade in your house.
Yeah, man. I was reading a little bit about that too, and I was mostly excited about the Street Fight. I had no idea there was even a Final Fight one on there.
Yeah.
I have Final Fight Double Impact on the virtual, or I keep wanting to say virtual console, on the Xbox Live.
Yeah.
and I play network play sometimes with my buddy.
You can do network play on Final Fight?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
On the double impact version, and that's one of those games you sit down, you play through all the way, and it's fun every time you play it, man.
It was such a great. Dude, they're such great.
It's
games,
such simple
man.
gameplay,
Sure,
but it's just fun every time you play it.
And that's the thing, man. It was simple and sweet. That's what it was.
Yep.
That's how those games are.
Yeah, and the SNK games, man.
SNK.
You know what those multi-game cabinets remind me of is when you'd go and you'd have the SNK cabinets with 6 or 7 games on them.
Yeah.
And I was just reading about this Neo Geo Mini that was coming out here.
Oh my God, I would love to have that, man. Because
looks...
Neo Geo games today are so expensive and they're so hard to get a hold of, especially the Neo Geo itself. Even back then, remember back in the day, did you know anybody that had Neo Geo? I didn't.
I knew one person.
Really?
And he was like king of the block.
Oh, I bet, man.
He had a Neo Geo.
Neo Geo had all the best fighting games and shit on it. It was, but they were back in the day when it first came out. I remember it was like $600 for one of those things.
Oh yeah, those were not cheap.
But the games were arcade perfect. They were literally the arcade board in a cartridge. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, that was the closest to an arcade you got.
And those cartridges were as big
oh,
as
they're
your head.
Huge. But back in the day, dude, that's what everybody wanted. We wanted arcade perfect games, and basically all the systems that came out back then couldn't give you that. It was always a toned down, like watered down version of the arcade game.
Some of them were pretty good, some better than others. But
yeah, no, they were good. Some were good,
Neo
but
Geo
they were still, they couldn't match the arcade's
Neo Geo
look.
Was the arcade.
It was the arcade.
From the arcade into
your home.
Magic in the living room.
Yep.
Really is what it was. So I mean, but
oh, it's magic. Neo Geo. Making my balls tingle.
You like put that at me as though I'm gonna have a lyric for you.
No, you don't have to sing. I'll be the singer here.
But no, okay, you made me lose my fucking train of thought. God damn it. No, okay, but
who are you?
We'll have to put a picture of this up too because it just looks cool. It's got a little screen. It does look like a little cabinet.
You know what? I hope that they have some jack where you can like put it into your TV.
I hope so too. I'm pretty sure there must be.
Yeah,
there has to be an HDMI in there somewhere.
Because the screen's pretty small.
Yeah.
It's which I don't mind. I don't mind that it's it's kind of a little bigger than like a Game Boy screen.
So here's a couple of the games they have on there. They have a full roster of the King of Fighters up to 2002. Fatal Fury games. They have
nice art fighting.
Mark of the Wolves is my favorite.
Samurai Showdown.
God damn it!
I love those games.
Yeah, Samurai Showdown 2. Another one I have on Xbox Live. Yeah, Mark of the Wolves is my favorite.
I don't think I ever played Mark of the Wolves.
Mark of the Wolves we've played it together.
We have?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you would recognize
Garo, Mark of the Wolves.
You would recognize it if I popped it up here.
Really?
You'd recognize it, but it's my favorite Fatal Fury game.
It's Fatal Fury. I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I love Fatal Fury.
The Last Blade, all the Metal Slug games up to X.
Love Metal Slug.
Fucking awesome.
Awesome games.
Really fond memories of that.
They're so much fun.
What else? Shock Troopers, Sengoku 3, Mutation Nation, which is a really weird game. You should look that up.
Yeah, I've never played that one.
We'll pop a picture of that one up.
Mutation
Nation is a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you fight the most creative bad guys, basically, ever. It's like... It's got the kind of the goriness of Splatterhouse, maybe. I would say.
Yeah.
But with just really creative enemies, really good gameplay, your classic SNK beat 'em up kind of style.
Wait. It says it's got wait, where was that? There was one. Super Sidekicks. So is that got Chuck Norris and Jonathan Brandis beating people up while Mako's in the back cheering you on?
You had to go there.
Go get him, kid! You got it.
Where they're doing the roundhouse over and over again, while they have their arms locked.
Yeah, I know, right? By the way, here's another plug. You can look at our Sidekicks review on the channel as well. Shameless plug.
Yeah, actually, please do, because that's one of my favorites. Actually, I like that.
It was good.
Anyways, no, I guess and the only downsides that I see. Oh, also, it does come with a controller, which is
That's
the
cool.
original Neo Geo CD, I believe controller.
Oh.
But the only downsides I really see to this is that the controls on the unit itself aren't switch based, so you don't have that classic arcade stick and button feel. I guess a lot
Probably
of people
get used to that though.
Yeah, and most of these games, to be honest with you, are being released on Switch and Xbox and PlayStation networks. So a lot of these games you can buy individually, but you don't have this cool little tiny like unit that you can bring around with you and show off, and the controller's pretty sick too. So. But no, I like it. I would definitely check it out.
Does it say if has that come out yet? Or is
I don't think it's out yet. No.
It's not gonna be $600 like the old one is, huh?
No.
Because that would suck.
I think it says it's $109.
Oh yeah, $109, dude. That's not bad at all.
It's $100, $109, as opposed to NES Classic, which is $60, and the SNES, which is Classic, which is $80.
Yeah, but good luck finding any of them. They're sold out everywhere.
Yeah, those just fly off the shelves. Yeah, I guess
that's the thing. It's that much in the stores, but people on like eBay and Amazon sell it for like $800.
Yeah,
they're so hard to get a hold of.
This is SNK's answer to those, basically.
Well, I am impressed.
Yeah,
I'm very interested.
Yep. But the Switch based I mean, honestly, man, with the stick,
I could live without it.
The stick, no,
It depends on how.
It
depends on how good this is. You never know. It might actually be pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, knowing people on the internet, someone's gonna make a mod for it that makes it Switch based, anyways. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, totally. I like the look of it. I like the games that they included, and SNK's an old classic.
Yeah, they are.
An old nostalgia trip for me. So.
Oh man, they're a nostalgia trip for everybody that's born in the 80s or 90s. Because SNK was always they were a staple back then. They made some of the best fighters, and I don't really know what the hell they're up to today, but I'm sure they're still making stuff.
They're making a new Samurai Showdown game.
Ooh. See, my testicles just moved.
They are making a new. It's not sprite based, like the characters. So it's gonna be like 3D? Not 2D. It's 3D. Which they have made 3D Samurai Showdowns, but this one kind of looks a little bit more in line with stylization of the new Street Fighter kind of style games.
Huh.
And they're making
like more cell animation.
Yeah. Other than that,
whatever
I don't
they call
know.
it. Yeah.
I keep up with Samurai Showdown because I fucking love that.
I fucking love those games too, man.
Love that series, man. Who
doesn't love slashing people up as Jubei Yagyu or Miyamoto Musashi? Fuck yeah. Mm-hmm. Sign me up. I'm in.
Oh yeah.
Now, honestly, there's some other things that have been kind of going on that are
we haven't even touched on all this stuff.
I know.
Things are flying at us.
Well,
things are just flying at us.
Okay, well, here's a big thing that's been going on, and a lot of people have been talking about it. Not everybody. It's not like people are on the side of the street like, oh, did you hear about this, man? Oh my god!
Where have you been? That happens to me everywhere. Every street corner I go to.
Well, I don't live in your world, apparently.
You don't want to.
Trust me. Depends. As long as there's a few lights set up on those crazy street corners, I might show up.
You better bring your Depends if you're gonna live in my shoes for a day.
Depends. So comfort.
Depends. For your comfort.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, right there. Now you remind me about something that's going on. News came out recently. Did you know Jean-Luc Picard is making a return?
Are you saying Depends because he's up in there in years?
No, I would never, ever imply that Sir Patrick Stewart wears Depends.
Patrick Stewart has looked the same
since the 1980s.
Since he was born, I believe. I believe he came out of the womb looking
with the horseshoe hair.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, but Picard is returning in the new series.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I guess he announced it, that they're doing a new series based around Jean-Luc Picard, and it's supposed to take place after Nemesis, like 25 years. Basically, it's going to be comparable to how much time has actually passed between the movies.
Jean-Luc Picard is back.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm excited for this because we haven't had a Star Trek that brings us forward like Star Trek is supposed to.
Not past Nemesis. Yeah, everything's gone behind. You know, like the newer movies, they were in the Kirk era, like the early days, prequels. You know,
prequels to even the.
But they weren't even in
show.
the same timeline. They were like on. They call it the Kelvin timeline. It's not even the same unit. You know.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't.
Yeah.
Know that.
Well, okay. In the first movie, the first new movie, you know that Romulan that comes back in time and kills his father and all that, and then the old Spock comes back. Well, that Romulan coming back in time, he basically changed the timeline. So
I knew
broke
that.
the timeline off.
I just didn't know that actual name.
Oh yeah, they call it the Kelvin timeline.
How much does this suck in Kelvin units?
Pretty bad. No, honestly, the new ones, they were okay. You know, they had their moments, but I honestly thought the third one was probably the better one.
They're a spectacle. I mean, you know, they get away with a lot of, you know, hey, we don't need to be canonical because we have an alternate
because we're
timeline.
on a new timeline, yeah.
And they create a real good spectacle. They're entertaining.
The second one was fucking blasphemy.
Is that
the Kahn one? Oh, it was terrible. It was so bad.
It was utter garbage.
Yeah,
I hated it.
It was bad.
I did. I hated that one too.
The first and third ones weren't bad. I thought the third one was probably one of the better ones because the third one actually felt like a story that would happen in Star Trek.
You didn't have that cat and mouse play that you had in the original Wrath of Khan in the second one, did you? You didn't really have any of that tension. You didn't have those Shakespearean moments of Khan, you know, in his emotional state.
That was so great, man. Well, that's the thing about Kahn back in the day when Ricardo Montalban played him.
Ah, Kirk, my old friend. Do you know the Klingon proverb that tells us revenge is a dish that is best served cold? It is very cold in space.
The character, you kind of understood him. You kind of identified with him, you know, and there was a part of you that even rooted for him.
Yeah.
He was such a kind of a deep, dynamic character and such a great villain. He was a perfect rival for Kirk. And dude, that second movie, Wrath of Khan, is fucking so epic because of him.
I've done far worse than kill you. I've hurt you. And I wish to go on hurting you. I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her, marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead planet. Buried alive, buried alive. Come! Come!
I mean, to deprive you of your life.
Kahn! Yeah. See, oh, dude, then they tried to do a version of that in the new movie, The End of Darkness, and they had Spock going, Kahn! They just did a mirror, you know, just did a flip where it's Kirk dying instead of Spock dying.
I'm sorry.
And
if it's not
it was
William...
so bad.
I'm sorry. If it's not William Shatner yelling, Kahn! It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, and that's the thing, too, man, is that the reason why it was such a big deal that Spock died in that original movie, I mean the second movie, was that at that point in time, we had been with these characters since the 60s. And then they killed off one of the main characters. You know, he sacrificed his life. And it was emotionally... And it was an emotional punch to the gut for everyone. You know, it was basically like that moment in Star Wars back in the day when everybody finds out that Vader is Luke's father. It was one of those holy shit moments. The new movies, we only spent one movie with these new characters, and we didn't really give that much of a shit about them.
Truth be told, in the context of the adaptation of that story, I mean, from a writer's standpoint, I guess, what can you really do? I mean, you want to change it up. I can kind of see, I can kind of see what their meaning behind doing that, but
they should.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Because that's the thing. You are in a new timeline. You're supposed to. You now being in that new timeline gives you creative freedom to do whatever you want. But instead, they just did kind of a mirror version of what happened in the original in some aspects. And I just thought that was pretty lazy.
Yeah.
They could have done so much more with it. And honestly, they should have just left Kahn out of it, because I'm sorry, nobody can fucking play Kahn like Ricardo Montalban.
Absolutely not.
The guy oozed charisma, man. He was such a fucking badass.
Oozed charisma.
And yeah, don't get me wrong, I like Benedict Cumberbatch. That's the guy that played the new Kahn. I like him. I like him in like Sherlock and stuff like that. He's a good actor. Doctor Strange, he's perfect for Doctor Strange. He looks the part. But not good for Kahn. Not a good Kahn pick, man.
Not at all. Well, let me read this Twitter post from Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
because he actually broke the news himself.
He did,
and this is a cool post.
Maybe we'll throw the video up there of him coming out and saying, "Hey, this is what's happening."
Oh yeah. It is an unexpected but delightful surprise to find myself excited and invigorated to be returning to Jean-Luc Picard to explore new dimensions within him. Read my full statement in this photo. And that's a terrible Picard impression, I'm sorry. But
Sir, that was a great impression. It was indistinguishable. Stop being so hard on yourself.
But no, I'm excited and invigorated as well. Patrick Stewart's Jean-Luc Picard was absolutely
it's Jean-Luc Picard, sir.
Shut up. I'm notoriously bad at pronouncing names, even my own favorite fucking characters of Jean-Luc.
He's one of my favorite characters too.
Like Jean-Luc Picard. Okay, is my absolutely favorite.
Jean-Luc Picard.
But no, I'm absolutely excited about this. You mentioned how you had some reservations about this.
I do have some reservations. Okay, and let me kind of explain. So, I watched this video about some of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, and one of the things that kind of worries me is that apparently one of the people that is one of the showrunners of Star Trek Discovery is going to be involved in this and possibly be the showrunner. His name's Alex Kurtzman.
You're going to have to fill me in because I haven't even watched Discovery yet.
Yeah, so, okay, first of all, Discovery fucking sucks. Discovery sucks.
Ouch.
I watched the first 4 episodes and never want to watch any more of it. Like, it was horrible. And they set it in the Prime universe. So they basically, what the Prime universe is, it's not the Kelvin. So it's the original timeline. So Star Trek, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, all that stuff, all those old shows, they're putting it within that timeline, but it's taking place before the original Star Trek with Kirk.
Again. Yes.
So the thing is that the show, for one, the technology in it doesn't match up to the technology it was in the original. Also, they've altered like the Klingons. The Klingons now are almost these like oh god, they're almost like amphibious.
I've seen pictures of them.
They're so weird looking.
They look like loose, watery stools that have been like shaken out of a butthole.
Right.
The Sphincter of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
that's where they came out of.
Totally came out of the Sphincter of the Galaxy.
Wow.
But the thing is that they've changed Klingon culture drastically. They made it to where now the main character, she was from Walking Dead, and she's the main character in this. Her name's like Sonequa something, like I forget what, Sonequa Green or something like that. But she is now apparently suddenly Spock's half sister, half human, half Vulcan, which Never any mention of Spock having a goddamn sister.
You think that would have come up?
You think that would have come up in, like,
Yeah.
what, 30 or 40 years worth of Star Trek?
Yeah.
So they just pulled that out of their ass. Plus, not only that, but they are right now in a legal battle with the creator of an indie game called Tardigrades, because they blatantly ripped off his idea for their new warp drive system. And what I mean by that is they use this new ship they have, the Discovery, uses this alien creature that lives in space called a tardigrade. And the tardigrade, it's this big, ugly-looking beastie, and they hook it up to the inside of the ship in a certain area of the ship, and they use it to kind of navigate these like spore conduits that are going throughout the universe.
Wait.
Dude, it's straight. It's almost a ripoff of Dune.
I was going to
say
say
the fucking Dune.
I was going to drop the spice must flow.
The Dune navigators.
Yeah.
They use the spice. It's like a ripoff of that and this game Tardigrades, because now and they even call it the Tardigrade. And the Tardigrade in it that they use looks exactly like the one from the video game. It's this point and click game that's called Tardigrades. It came out like 4 or 5 years ago on Steam. And not only that, but it does it look exactly the same way, but the whole idea of it like navigating like spore, like these like alien like spore mushroom kind of like conduits or something. Mm-hmm. It's basically to travel from one point of the universe to the other instantly. They use that exact idea. And
that is so weird.
Yeah, and they also have a couple of characters in the show that are just straight rip-offs from that game, like main characters from that game. So they're involved in a legal battle with the guy that made that game, and honestly, I think they should probably get sued by Frank Herbert's estate too, because that's also kind of a rip-off of the Navigators. But it's not just that, man. Like that alone is, that kind of messes with it a bit, but also the show itself, it just doesn't feel right, man. There's just something about it that just doesn't. It feels off. The writing's not very good. It doesn't feel like Star Trek.
Yeah. And they're getting farther and farther from that feeling too.
They've been getting farther and farther. Honestly, it feels more like this belongs in the new timeline with, Chris Pine and the Kelvin timeline, the new movies. It feels like it belongs there and not in the old timeline with the old Star Trek stuff. So what I worry about is that the same showrunner and people that are making Discovery are making the new Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard show. And I'm worried. I've heard rumors that what they're trying to do is merge the two timelines together into one new timeline. And so the Kelvin and the old one. And it basically effectively erasing both timelines and creating this new timeline. Okay,
and this is where this show will come into play. Patrick Stewart suit.
Yeah, okay. That's the rumor. I don't know how true that is, but that's the rumor where it's going to go, where it might go. And everybody's a little worried about that, because if they do that, if they do that, man, that's like going to be a brand new Last Jedi situation. And people are going to backlash. And poor Patrick Stewart here, who's in his 80s now, will be their sacrificial lamb to the slaughter. It's going to be a whole new Luke Skywalker kind of situation.
That's sad to think about.
Yeah, it is. So it's. I don't know if it's going to actually go that way.
Yeah.
But it's too early to tell. But because this was just announced, but it is something that I think needs to be considered. So, now this is important. We need to talk about this because it's we're gonna get dark again. A legend has passed. A legend is no longer with us, and the power of his mustache will no longer be in our lives. Burt motherfucking Reynolds is gone.
That's sad.
Yeah, that hurts, man.
Let's be real. The power of the mustache will never leave us.
You're right. The power of the mustache can never die.
It will live on in legends.
It will always live on in our hearts. But man, that's a real bummer. Burt Reynolds was the man. He was one of those guys that had such charisma that he could just walk into a room and overpower it. You know, the moment he walked into a room, everybody was like, "Oh my God, there he is! It's Burt motherfucking Reynolds."
One of the old guard.
One of the old guard.
He started as a dock worker. He was offered $150 to jump through a glass window on a live television show, and that's what started his career.
Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. That's crazy.
What I just know that little bitty factoid about him. Other
It's
than
extremely random that you know that.
I do know for a fact that this man was he's a man's man.
He was a fucking man's man.
Mm-hmm.
The man. You hear the word badass bandied about quite a bit these days, but this guy was one of them. He was a true badass through and through. Like you said, the old guard. Man, he was old guard, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Deliverance,
Yeah.
Boogie Nights, Smokey and the Bandit. I mean, the guy's got a whole list as long as your fucking arm. Like, let's see here. So we got, let's name off a few of his movies here that he's done. Some big ones. We got, so I already named off a couple of them. Oh, Striptease, The Maddening. He was on the Larry Sanders Show. Let's see, Modern Love, Cannonball Run, and Cannonball Run 2, obviously Smokey and the Bandit, Silent Movie, Hustle, White Lightning, The Longest Yard, the original, not that shitty Adam Sandler remake.
Oh shit, that was a remake?
That was a fucking remake of a Burt Reynolds movie. That's why Burt Reynolds was in the sequel as his, remember he was like the mentor? Skullduggery, Run Simon Run, Sam Whiskey, Navajo Joe, Flipper.
Another random factoid, he was in 2 of the Universal Soldier sequels.
He was.
That do not include Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, that was Universal Soldier 2, Brothers in Arms, and Universal Soldier 3, Unfinished Business. And strangely enough, his character's name was Mentor.
Obviously not a throwback, not a reference at all.
Not at all, no. But man, he was a fucking legend. And it doesn't get... You don't get any more badass than that guy. I mean, he was he oozed charisma. And oozed it. I love that word.
Charisma.
Oozed charisma. He oozed it through and through. It sounds like a yucky word too.
It's yucky and it's very
Yeah, man, but Burt Reynolds, we salute you. Rest in peace. May the mustache be with you forever.
Yep. The mustache will live on.
Oh, and your role in Deliverance was fucking awesome. Him and that bow and arrow, man.
He was the badass of Deliverance.
Yes,
he
he
was the
was.
John Rambo of Deliverance.
He was the John Rambo of Deliverance.
Was Deliverance before? It was before Rambo, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. This was 70s. Rambo was 80s.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
There had to have been some influence from that.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Dude, back in the day, man, Burt Reynolds. A lot of characters you see now that have that kind of swagger, you know, who do you think they got that shit from? That's from Burt. That's from motherfucking Burt.
Burt motherfucking Reynolds.
Yeah. Rest in peace, man.
Rest in peace,
You
sir.
You were like a shining example of what a man can be.
Be all that you can be.
With a mustache. there's probably only one other mustache I can think of that has as much power as his, and that's Magnum fucking PI.
Oh yeah.
Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck. Oh shit, Tom
He's a
Selleck.
fucking
I
workhorse.
used to get those two confused a
Yeah,
lot.
he's still alive. Tom Selleck.
What's the fella's name who is he's at the end of The Big Lebowski. He's in the movie that came out not that long ago, The Hero. He has that big
Lebowski.
He's got that big. He's always got that really big. He's in Roadhouse as Dalton's. I think Dalton's mentor. He is. Oh my god! I know people are.
Oh, Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott.
Sam fucking Elliott. He's another one of those badasses
Oh, yeah.
with the mustache. Yeah, he was
Power.
in Tombstone too.
Yep, Tombstone.
Yeah,
I forgot.
dude, Sam Elliott.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that guy's awesome.
The power of that mustache.
The power
too.
of that fucking
By the
mustache.
way-
He's got that deep voice too.
Yeah. If you haven't seen The Hero,
No, I haven't.
You
I'm
should
gonna have
watch
to check it out.
It's about it.
Dude,
Yeah,
if it's got Sam Elliott in it, I'll watch that shit.
it's about an old retired Western actor. Well, and he's like doing like commercials.
Yeah.
Like, and he's doing really shitty product spots and shit
Mhm.
and voiceovers. Like, he, kind of like
Yeah.
Sam Elliott does.
Sure.
Get yourself a Dodge.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, dude, he did do those truck commercials, didn't he?
Ford Tough or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, he does those kinds of things.
Ford tough. We'll cut in some of that man's fucking deep, awesome voice, man.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I take comfort in that. It's good knowing he's out there, the dude, taking her easy for all us sinners.
But the movie's kind of like he does the role like really well because it's basically kind of like what he's been doing anyways for
It's
years.
basically him. He's
Yeah.
playing himself.
Yeah, and it's a very it's a very sympathetic role. It's a very kind of somber movie, but it's also got a lot of it's got a lot of
So, something that we've been doing right now, we've been talking about Burt Reynolds, we've been talking about Tom Selleck, we've been talking about Sam fucking Elliott. Man's men.
Man's Men.
Yeah. Real men. Not like the kind of men that are around today who squawk about their feelers and, oh my God, oh, my life is so painful and horrible. I need to talk about it on Twitter. No, we were talking about men's men. Well, I want to point out someone who is the exact opposite of a man's man, who is actually a living troll.
A living troll.
A
He's
living troll.
probably one of the most hilarious people I've ever seen in my life.
So you've heard of Charlie Zelenoff then, huh? You know where I'm going with this?
I do know where you're going with this. Frankly, I think that this guy, and I know this has been talked to death on YouTube and podcasts and the internet and the MMA world and whatever, but we're gonna end this show with a
Charlie Zelenoff.
clip that we both recently got acquainted to. It's very strange to me because we have a legend in the ring here, a real man's man.
Yeah, a real man's man right here. Yes,
Who's
Mr. Floyd Mayweather Sr.
Yeah.
That's a man's man.
And so he agrees. He gives this guy the time of day. Agrees with a little sparring session.
Little sparring session, yeah. All these
you know.
people are standing around watching around the ring.
No, I know you know.
And-
Sparring partner, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing is though, when you watch this, you can tell that Mayweather Sr. is not really putting his all into this fight. He's
Nor does he have to. He's very casual about it.
very casual, very casual. But Charlie Zelenoff does something that is kind of a no-no in any combat sport. He sucker punches Floyd fucking Mayweather Sr.
Not only that, he gets chased out of the ring, jumps back in. We don't actually see the impact.
Right.
I have to
The
assume-
camera is not even pointing at it. He's
I have
not
to
expecting
assume it was as light as a feather against over the top of his head.
and not stiff as a board.
But he proceeds to get his ass completely handed to him. People come in there and just fucking
Yeah.
slap him down.
Yeah, it's not even
assume-
Mayweather that beats him up.
No,
it's the
it's-
people outside the ring
yeah.
that beat him.
I'm surprised he didn't get killed. I'm surprised he
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
get beheaded.
Well, he has got a track record of doing this
Mhm.
in these fights. He challenges people to a fight, and then he'll sucker punch them when they're not looking or when they're not paying attention, and then he'll run away. Straight run away. I've seen videos where he will run out of the ring and out of the building, and then come back in after a minute and try to sucker punch the person again.
Mm-hmm. So for that, Charlie Zelenoff, you get our Sphincter of the Galaxy award.
Ah, yeah, we talked about giving out Sphincter of the Galaxy Awards.
You-
Yes, he's
you
our
are-
first inductee into the stinkiest sphincter of the galaxy.
The stinkiest sphincter of all of the galaxy.
Of all the galaxy! Charlie Zelenoff, you are our first inductee. If we had an award, we'd send one to you. But we don't.
We can send him a certificate.
We can make a certificate for you. if you like it.
With one of those scratchy stickers.
Oh, scratch and sniff.
Smell like
Smells
doo-doo.
like poo. Yeah. Would you like that, Mr. Zelenoff? Just get a hold of us. Call my secretary. Oh, wait. I don't make enough money to have a secretary. Then, how about you just comment on the video, huh? That'll do. That'll do. Mr. Sphincter. Bunghole.
Bungholio.
Bungholio. So, we're going to end the show by showing you this video of this complete and total moron sucker punching Floyd Mayweather Sr., possibly one of the greatest men that boxing has ever seen. One of the greatest. Who also trained one of the greatest.
Good night and good luck, people.
Good night and good luck. And touch each other ever so softly.
Why do you have to end the show so creepily?
Because I don't know. I feel like it just wouldn't be right if I didn't. Touch it.
Oh, God.
Good night, kitties.
I'm gonna have to stab your ass here in a minute.
Ah, murder on tape.
I feel unsafe.
He feels unsafe. What about you, kitties? Do you feel unsafe? Nighty night.
Sleep tight.
Keep your asshole tight.
He's running from. Do it now. We finna shot.